Hello, I'm Luke Darcy. Welcome to the 2012 wash-up for Port Adelaide. Damien Barrett is with me, and Damo, 2 more wins compared to last year for the Power, but another season of turmoil.
Yeah, it was. The coach went yet again at Port Adelaide. They managed to win only one of their final 12 games and finished the season and lived throughout 2012 with a real question mark over their very future in a very significant way that has the AFL quite concerned.
Let me kick you off with a season highlight for Port Adelaide, Damo, and it probably reached its pinnacle in round 1, unfortunately, where they knocked off St Kilda at home. They had a good crowd there. Matty Primus, great celebration, and you thought, wow, he's going to be able to turn these fortunes around. And as you mentioned, didn't quite unfold the way that Matty Primus would have liked, but there were some glimpses there. Not as far away as you'd think, Port Adelaide.
Yeah, there were some glimpses, and they came not long after that game, round 8, North Melbourne, 32 points down with 11 minutes to play, and yet somehow got up in that game. We see this goal here, kicked by Stewart, which put them in front, and they stayed in front in that game. That win there, Das, was the first of what happened to be 3 in a row for the club, and things looked at least okay at that point, but just before the bye period, and certainly after it, things went way off track.
Season low light, there's Jacob Surgeon. That was a bit of a low light, having a few tears on the siren. Come on, Jacob, you're better than that. I reckon the way they handled the Matthew Primus sacking was disgraceful, to be honest with you. And I don't know why football clubs treat their greats in the way that they did with Matthew Primus. Now,
disgraceful.
Hard decisions have to be made, but why do it at that stage? What advantage have they gone and signed anyone since then? Have they got the jump on anyone? When you've got people who have given their heart and soul to the place, and he's a sensational person, a great person in the history of the Port Adelaide Football Club, you've got to get that better. You've got to treat your greats with a bit more, and it leaves a bad taste. It's bad for the whole environment. I reckon they really did that poorly. Yeah,
I reckon they did the day itself too very poorly, Das. We'll just take a look at the day they decided to announce publicly that they had moved or separated ways with Matty Primus. Here's Brett Duncanson before officially they had announced in a press conference anyway that Matthew Primus had been sacked.
So I'm Forrest, my first chair at the Maggies, an outstanding human being. I just said to Russell walking over here to actually come up here when I was 8 years old and sorry guys, sorry Andrew. To now work with one of your heroes has been it's been an honour, Russ. So thanks. And finally to my family.
Brett Duncanson, stop laughing, Das. Very good man and very good boss there at Port Adelaide, but just wasn't the time and place to have a press conference like that. Hey, Christmas bonus time now for Port Adelaide. Who deserves one?
Well, I'm going to start with Brad Ebert. 22-year-old, first year, came over from the West Coast Eagles. Surprised that he wasn't staying in Adelaide right off the draft. You remember the Adelaide Crows overlooked him, but he'll probably win their best and fairest.
Yep.
I think he's a great signing, really complete player. I love the fact he can do that, go forward and take a mark. Big tick for Brad Ebert and the way he went about it this year.
Yeah, I thought he was really good, Das. Another guy I thought was good when he was able to be good, when his body allowed him to be, was Hamish Hartlett. Again, had injury concerns, but he can do things like this, Das, and did them quite regularly throughout the year. He just needs, for the first time in his life, get a full season together. And I think it's still potentially sky limit sort of stuff for this guy, but his body to this point has let him down. There's a long bomb there. He can pretty much do anything if it's all going for him.
Seriously exciting player, Damo. Let's get down to the hard part. Who have you got on the chopping block?
Unfortunately, it's a guy who's been around for a long time and probably won't be around for much longer. Stephen Salopek, Das, just couldn't break into this team in a year where it's been a disaster on the field. So, yeah, I liked him a long time ago, but the club clearly has ruled a line through his name.
Brad Ebert and the younger group are the future, and I think Hamish Hartlett along with that. Tom Logan, he's falling into that bracket now, 27 years of age, 8 seasons, played 100 games, averages about 12 games a year. He'd probably find himself, I reckon, pretty close to being moved on. Now, where do they need to improve, Damo, in 2013?
Well, they've got to get a coach for starters, don't they? And I think what I reckon they need to do is just go for the best experienced coach. And I reckon the person who now fits that category right now is Brett Ratton, who's still in that young mode when we look at coaches, 41 years of age, but he's had 5 years of full senior experience at a very tough footy club, a very high-profile footy club. 5 years at that Carlton footy club, to me, is good enough for him to be able to walk into Port Adelaide right now and say, right, what, I'll coach you, but I don't want to have to go through any interview process. I'll do it for 3, maybe 4 years. This is what I want for it. If it all adds up, I reckon go for it.
Yeah, it'd be a good story, wouldn't it, if he found a home there straight away. Travis Boak has to be a priority. I know it is. It would just be a great boost for the club if they could finally get that signature, pair him up with the other young midfielders we spoke about before in Hartlett and Brad Ebert, and they can continue to improve, which I think there are some signs, as we said. How about next year, Damo? Do you see anything positive for them in terms of going up the ladder?
No, I don't. As much as that 3 wins in a row sort of early in the season looked okay, I reckon the last 12 look really bad. I'm saying they're down again. Yeah,
I think they're definitely not going to improve significantly next year. I reckon they're probably slightly ahead of the Giants, slightly ahead of the Suns. Melbourne, the Bulldogs around that mark have got them finishing very in similar fashion as they did this year. Damo, that is the wash-up for Port Adelaide for season 2012. Time now for the 2012 wash-up for the Brisbane Lions. And Damo, 10 wins for Michael Boss and his team. I reckon is a sensational result in 2012.
Yeah, I subscribe to the same view, Das. I reckon they've had a really good year. 2 of those 10 wins were against West Coast and Adelaide, and obviously the other 8, they're against teams that really they had to win, and they did. And that in itself is a real positive.
My season highlight was a goal on the siren, James Polkinghorne in round 10. At this stage, the West Coast Eagles, who, as we know, were fantastic all year. We're a great side. He's gone the barrel with 1:30 left to go. Gets Brisbane back in front. The celebration to knock off a gun side in that sort of fashion, I reckon, was just about the highlight for the year for the Brisbane.
Yeah, it was. And when you look at the year in a 23-round perspective, I really like what Tommy Rockcliffe and Jack Redden did as a couple, Das. They've had good raps on them now for some time, and they had shown form before this year. But to me, they put it together collectively, and I would argue that Rockcliffe probably single-handedly won a couple of games for just in some pure acts of genius, I reckon. He's got a footy brain, Das. Can play as a midfielder, can also do as he did there, take a mark when it's required up forward.
Big fan of Tommy Rockcliffe, aren't you, Damo?
Yeah, I do.
You know, you spent some time up there and you're right involved with the Brisbane Lions. The low light for me happened in the pre-season when Jonathan Brown, you thought, surely he's due for some good karma, and his teammate Goose Maguire, you can't believe that, can you? Knee back into the face, facial fractures, more surgery, and you just thought, can this man have anything worse go wrong? He's gone on and kicked 47 goals for the year, which is just amazing. Shakes the head. As brave a player as ever played the game, I reckon, Jonathan Brown, but that was not what they needed at the start of the year.
Yeah, with my low light, it's another stalwart of the Lions, Das. Simon Black. Why is he wearing a green vest, Das? To me, there are some people who do not wear a green vest to start the game as a substitute, and Simon Black, to me, had done more than enough to be put through the green vest situation as he was against Richmond. And strangely enough, in that very game, when he came back from 40 points down to a couple of goals and nearly turned the game. It's just never again.
We've ever seen Simon Black, A, a sub, and B, just with some niggling injuries, and found it tough a bit this year, but I'm rapt that he's got another year next year. Christmas bonus time, Damo. I've got a man that you spoke about earlier in the bonus category, Jack Redden. He is going to continue the tradition at Brisbane of being a gun midfielder, consistent player, great to learn from Voss and Black and Nigel Lappin, who's gone before him. He will be a very good player.
Yeah, and I've gone for Tommy Rockcliffe again, Das. That won't surprise you. I just think he...
You related or...?
No, just like how he goes about it, because he's a bit off-centre, isn't he? He's just a little bit low-key in that superstar sense, but I reckon he's a superstar in the making and will be for years to come at the Lions.
Got to put a couple on the chopping block right now, Damo, and... where do you want to start?
Well, I'm going to start with Josh Drummond, simply because if it's his body, he's let him down. 30 games in the past 3 years, and even before that, he'd had troubles. He can be anything. I just don't think he's going to be now because of the body, mainly leg problems and knees specifically. But unfortunately, I just think it's come for a time for him. Maybe a fresh start might improve it. Another medical regime might pick him up. But he's been could be a really good player, but just hasn't quite worked out.
Brent Staker in the same category for me, Damo. 28 years of age. He's now facing back-to-back back-to-back knee reconstructions are very tough, even for the very best players to come back from 2 knee recos. And I think it might be just a little bit too tough for Brent Staker.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, isn't it, with him? As it turned out, the 10 wins the Lions got was 4 games short of a finals berth. To get there next year, what do they need to do?
Well, I think going back to their midfield depth is where they need to start. Simon Black's going to play him for another year, but it's going to be restricted. You're not going to get the Simon Black that won your Norm Smith medals and Brownlow. So it's Redden, it's Daniel Rich, it's trying to find your man Rockcliffe through the midfield as much as you can. I think there's a bit of excitement there. Building that quicker will get them closer to finishing in the top 8.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, they were pretty confident that their offer to Kurt Tippett was being very, very closely monitored by Kurt himself. That has changed a little bit, but they are still the front runners in the southeast Queensland corner. They and the Suns have both got good offers in for him. I reckon that if he was to leave Adelaide Crows, that they would be the favourites, and I reckon if they were to get him, I reckon they become finalists.
I'm working out the way that you rolled, Damo. You've had Kurt Tippett at 6 clubs. You spread your bets around.
Not true, Darcy. I've had him at Adelaide or Brisbane Lions.
And then you'll say that you were right, which is a great way to work it out. How about next year in 2013? Are they going to improve on 2012?
Yeah, I'm pretty buoyant about the Lions. I think Michael Voss has been through some really hard yards, and he deserves some scrutiny even still for that. But I reckon what they showed on his leadership this year in 2012, there's enough cause right now to think that the 10 wins could become 12, 13, which puts him in a finals mix.
I think 10 wins was quite a few more than I had them winning this year. I reckon if they get 10 again next year, but improve the midfield, would be a good year. So finishing right around the same mark for me, the Brisbane Lions. Damo, that is the wash-up for the Brisbane Lions in season 2012.